welcome to the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. The other way around, whatever you like. Let's get on with the show with news, views, reviews, and interviews. Let's start off with the news. So the news today, dun dun dun, there's no news, which is good news. Besides, there is some story idea leaks coming out of Mandalorian and Grogu. It can't be completely confirmed as yet, but story leaks are coming out. Personally, I stay away from them. I'd rather see the story as it is on the big screen, and that's it. Anyway, so there's no news besides the couple of leaks coming out of Mandalorian and Grogu. That's pretty much the news. Let's get into views. Views is my story idea. Yes, I accept the story for what it is, from the Acolyte all the way to the Rise of Skywalker, which is considered, those two edges right there, the most hated things amongst Star Wars fans. Not all of them, not some of them, part of them. Anyway, and there's many canon. Canon is obviously everything that is official. Canon can be many things in that storyline so far between the Acolyte and Rise of Skywalker, like comic books, even some products out there. Anyway, so let's get into my story idea. Now, my story idea is pretty much the title to this particular episode, which is Starfighter Creative Freedom? ? Okay, so the last time we had creative freedom in Star Wars, besides technically you could say all of them, but the one that really stands out in a big way and failing amongst its fans, excuse me, bless me, was The Last Jedi. Creative freedom from the get-go really had that film be up against the wall with its fans. The last time we had creative freedom, which was, in my humble opinion, really talked about amongst lots of people on the internet, including YouTubers. Not to blame anyone, but this was the talk, having a different director, having a different story writer, having different planets, being original. I think, personally, my story idea here is with Starfighter, creative freedom, ? And I'll say yes. If you were making a Star Wars film, I think creative freedom, which includes using things that have been used, is the ultimate way of having fun for yourself and also having the audience participate. Now, The Last Jedi was just, taken on so badly amongst so many. I think the two standout things about The Last Jedi I didn't like was the first time I heard the name being announced, The Last Jedi. I actually liked the name, but the fact that the word Jedi has been used in another episodic film was, to me, not the way of Star Wars. It needs to be original Star Wars word, and it would then confuse which Jedi film you're talking about. Even though you could just say The Last Jedi, it's easy like that. It just, Jedi has its place with Return of the Jedi, in my opinion. The other thing I didn't like about Last Jedi, which was quite up there, was actually when the lightsaber fight was happening in that big red room that Snoke was in the big Imperial ship. It looked like a film stage. Those two things are probably the things that I can't get myself to like in The Last Jedi. And besides the horses, those horse things that were on that planet, where Broom Boy was at, I've forgotten the name. But yeah, so I think a story idea of being 100% original is great. But with originality, there's going to be surprises. And with surprises, there's going to be people that love it and people that hate it. I think stories are best told original, and stories are told best with an emotional understanding of the start, the middle, and the end. You've just got to work out the pieces in between. I think having a lot of nostalgia is good. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just become a bad thing. But you want to be careful in having, you know, on the nose type of stuff. For example, if Luke Skywalker ever said, "I am your father," to a possible son he had, now that's a bit on the nose. You know, come on, that's not that, you know, even though one person said it, the other person, no, come on. But nostalgia is, you know, more with its look, the used future look, some aliens or just some callbacks. It can take some people out of the movie, but, you know, if it does, it does. For me, it doesn't. It just makes it more fun and exciting. Anyway, so my story idea here is be 100% original. Like, just don't even use anything besides the feel and the fabric, if you were to say. The fabric. What a word that is. An exciting word. Fabric. The fabric of Star Wars. And just, you know, create. You know, that's all you got to do. It's an unusual story idea this time, my views, but, you know, it's always taking on the edge. Anyway, let's get into reviews. We are in the month of The Force Awakens, Episode 7, being 10 years old. 10 years ago. I can't believe it's 10 years ago. One of my favourite, and this time I'm going to figures that I found. This one, like, is just a prize one. This here, before I show you, is a 10 out of 10. It's actually Finn with the, if you look closely, with the helmet, with the red blood hands that had, you know, touched the helmet at the start of the film. This particular figure relates to a part of the film. It's great. I personally love Finn being the first thing we saw in the very first trailer, him being a stormtrooper costume, which is technically a first order costume. And that, look at this figure. It's beautiful. I love the classic figures, and I love this one with the blood that's on the helmet. This was a pretty hard one to find. This is a 10. I love it. That's my review for this time around. Just put it over there. I'll have a bit of Kool-Aid. No Kool-Aid, actually, it's coffee. Beautiful. Anyway, this is interviews. Interviews is whoever wants to send in a comment, or if I ever get to interview somebody really up there, which I've come close, and I will endeavour to pursue in the future. But at the moment, comments and questions from people sending in to my channel, The Force Awakens, just send it straight to the channel, straight to the last episode if you can, that I've recorded, so then I can read it and know that it's there. So let's get into, can you believe it? Michael from Werribee South is asking again. So he's asking the first question. If you don't know where Werribee South is, it's a part of Melbourne, Australia. Anyway, just, you know, if you don't know. Why didn't Dooku betray Palpatine when he was about to be executed? Well, in the position of when he was compromised, he was pretty much done for. Anakin had the scissor lightsaber look, for he was about to chop his head off, and at that point he just lost any opportunity. It's the only way to answer that question. He lost the opportunity. Why didn't Dooku betray Palpatine when he was about to be executed? Well, he didn't know he was going to be executed. He maybe sensed or felt, but he didn't know. But in that moment, he didn't know until that point, and it was too late. And that was in Attack of the Clones, Episode 2, if you want to reference what I just said. The next question is coming from Michael from Werribee South, and he's got, did regular people ever know that Vader was the one who killed Palpatine? I reckon secretly there would have been people that know, but it's never been actually put out there in a canon big time way that people knew. People more knew Vader to be a mass murderer. I think the whole idea of Vader being redeemed at the end, being the chosen one, is a little bit controversial if you think of it. He slaughtered many, many people, and with the, simple one decision of destroying the Emperor by throwing him over the edge, as we thought he was dead at that stage in Return of the Jedi, Episode 6. We thought he was done for, and we just thought, I'm sure people knew. There was whispers, there was people passing him by at that point. They could see Luke drag this, big body, big black Darth Vader body. I'm sure someone saw something, but it's never been actually said or known, unless it's, through comics that I don't really read as much. Anyway, the next question from Michael from Werribee House says, was Palpatine at all worried about Yoda and was Palpatine at all worried about Yoda and Kenobi coming back? Of course, he was trying to get rid of the Jedi, because that's the two things he was attempting to do, which he was successful at, was being the ruler of the universe and destroying all the Jedi. It was just a ambition that took him all of his life, all the way to Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Technically, he never got rid of them all. And, Kenobi and Yoda was, one of the strongest ones and understanding of the Force. And the Jedi, they were the poster boys or poster aliens, whatever you want to look at. Yeah. So the next question, where is Star Wars Fighter being filmed? When did it start filming? Okay. So shortly after Star Wars Japan in this year, 2025, they pretty much commenced filming, which has been since April. Probably pre-production was before that, so I'd say before that, you could say. But actual filming was from pretty much after Star Wars Celebration Japan. And where is it being filmed? It's mainly in Europe at the moment, in sort of different locations, London, Europe. And so there's no exact, a lot of information with this film, which is good. I prefer this, is being in, secrecy, which is good. But we know that they're over in that sector of planet Earth, Europe, essentially. So the next question is, from Michael from Werribee's house, what species are each of these villains, which is Grand Inquisitor, which is apparently, and I had to look this up, a Payon, if that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. And the next one was Thorn, which was a Chiss. I had to look that one up. And Maul, a Zabrak. I had to look that one up as well. I don't think they're, that more concentrating on their species. I think they sort of stand off as one of, great alien or human type characters, especially Maul, especially Thrawn. The Inquisitors were a bit of a, I don't know, not the most favourable thing on my behalf, but they're still there. Anyway, so the next question, which Jedi Sith teacher, just Jedi or Sith teacher, would be considered the most knowledgeable and or powerful? Is it Yoda? Is it Palpatine? Or Darth Treya? Or Krira? Or which is Darth Treya, as Michael is saying here. Well, the most knowledgeable and the most powerful Sith or Jedi, to be honest, it is pretty much straightforward that Palpatine was the mastermind behind the big universal war, tore the whole Jedi down, had Sith go into power, had the whole universe upside down. I think that takes a lot of knowledge, and I think that also takes a lot of power. So I'm going to personally say Palpatine, which technically at that point he was just known as the Emperor, not really Emperor Palpatine. He was, even though he was Emperor, people just regarded him as the Emperor. The next question was, why do powerful Sith Lords bother taking apprentices when they know the apprentice will in the end attempt to kill them to gain absolute power? That's a good question. I think of that. What? Why? But I don't. It's actually a really weird logic. Why do these masters take on apprentices as being Sith Lord? Why? But we'll never know. I don't know. That's the answer to that question is I don't know. You will have to ask the master creator, George Lucas. He will only know. That is quite a good question. Anyway, the next one was actually it was a comment made by JWOLF Feshelton 4360. JWOL Feshelton 4360. I think that's how you say it. I'm unsure. It's quite a big name. He's saying, besides the fact that this vid, or the last vid, or any vid maybe, is boring AF. And I'm thinking he's saying a bad word. I'm going to say as boring as fun. It's fun. These videos are fun. Exciting. We fans need to remember George Lucas was always winging it. I completely agree. He was constantly changing the story for crying in the mud. Vader actually being Anakin was practically a last-minute rewrite. I am in no way defending the colossal letdown the Kathleen Kennedy jackass, or if you come to Australia, jackass, joke Abrams trilogy was. Broke my nerdy heart. Not to mention, not the actor's fault, the writing sucked. It's practically impossible to recreate the magic of the OG trilogy simply because it was something that had never been done before, or for that matter, was thought even possible at that time. Show less. To respond to this it's a comment. You know, everyone has a point of view, as Obi-Wan said, from a certain point of view. And this person doesn't like a lot of things, and that's fair to say. These videos are designed to be just a chat, me going out there, rocking it. And according to Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams, I admire J.J. Abrams. I think Kathleen Kennedy is a great producer. I just think she didn't really orchestrate what the fans wanted. But then, is it what the fans want, or what the people who owns the property want? Really, this comment here is fair to say. But it's also fair to say why I do this, why she does that, why Abrams does what he does is because we are the Force always, including you, my friend. Anyway, That's all I can do to answer really that type of thing, which is good. I'm all for the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. Anyway, that is the show for this time around. Until next time, my friends. Was that boring? Keep rocking.